Barry, you there?
You'd have some level of chaos likely.
All right,
that
now we
hasn't
got
happened
you.
in
We
this
got you.
case.
We got
So
you.
it's
We got
very
you.
unique.
All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. You there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Yep, loud and clear.
All right. So thank you so much for doing this, and and we're actually live on YouTube right now. So you want to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone.
There you go.
This
There
is
you go.
exciting.
There you go. So just to give a little bit about Barry. So Barry Habib is the CEO of MBS Highway. Rock of Ages producer, movie star, speaker, leader, coach. I mean, you name it, Barry has done it. And, we'd like to welcome you to the show. So Barry, maybe give everyone of the listeners that isn't as familiar with you a little bit about, I looked online, you got pictures with Tony Robbins, with the mayor of New York, Mayor Bloomberg, you're on TV. The pictures with Tom Cruise, you're a rock star.
I knew you would mention Tom Cruise.
I had to.
I said that. I said I would mention Mark Ruffalo first.
Okay.
But that I knew everyone else would go Tom Cruise first.
All right, so who? Well, Derek Jeter. You didn't do Derek. You didn't Derek.
Well, I was going based off the films. I was
okay.
looking at the film stuff and the folks that Barry's worked with in Hollywood.
So Barry, tell us. Welcome to the show, and this is our fourth episode. So thank you for always supporting us. I remember when several years ago when I reached out to Barry to do a webinar, was first to say yes. Always first to say yes. Always first, and that has led you to a lot of success. That has. So let's talk. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. How has your yes sort of? Are you always open to new opportunities and always open to challenging and new things? Because you're
First of all, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and tremendous respect for what you guys do. So you didn't mention the pictures I have with you because those are right up there with everybody else.
Hey, I appreciate that.
Some of the things out there. So now, I think if you try to take a look at what has been a common thread amongst individuals with success, it's optimism. So in taking on opportunities, we have to make educated decisions, but optimistic that things can bear fruit. And one of my mentors, one of Tony Robbins' mentors, was Jim Rohn, who passed away not too long ago, but a great man. And Jim had taught me and said to me, look, attend the gatherings. And you guys do a great job of putting together the gatherings, but it's really important because if you attend those gatherings and you really try to talk to people and seek them out, and not just stay next to people that you know, but really try to make conversation and get to know some people that are there, you really can open up some doors. And I think a lot of it is also thinking with a little bit more of an open mind or wider net. Just with everything we do. Knowing our business is one thing, but trying to be better at the things we don't know. And then, we're really trying to know what we don't know. So that's
so it's interesting you say Jim Rohn. So originally, Jim Rohn, I have a soft spot for Rohn. I love Rohn. Every year I start my year off with How to Have Your Best Year Ever. I have all the DVDs. I have his one book or two books, and when you look at the self-development movement, I don't know if you've Jim Rohn. He's the one who kind of him and Napoleon Hill. So let's talk about that. Fritz, I had some questions about that, but let's talk about your background. How'd you get into Jim Rohn? How'd you get into the self-development?
And that was we're jumping. We kind of had the three, Barry, that we had talked about, kind of the three topics we were going to hit on. So it looks like we're jumping right to
Let's
two.
just get right into it.
We're jumping right to number two, which is to summarize it, is what habits that you would, that you recommend for people to reach a level of success. This is a good kind of way to transition into that conversation.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that anybody listening to this obviously has some success already, because the reason why they're listening to this is because they want to try and see how can I get better. And that's really the underlying tide that's out there is can I get better? And can I get better for whatever the reason is? And let's assume that reason is, look, I just want to be a better resource to my clients, and I want to be able to provide them with a much better service than my competition, much more knowledge and insights than my competition does. And that's really the key. So I'll answer that question and also blend in on Roan. So Roan was someone that I had the honor of sharing the stage with and speaking with at a conference. And afterwards, we kind of got to know each other a little bit. And I told him how I had, been really someone who's admired him for a long time. And we went out to dinner, and then we were at another event. We went out to dinner again, and I had kind of this one-on-one opportunity to kind of sit at his feet almost and just learn from this person who is just absolutely brilliant and taught me quite a few things that I'll always remember. Now, there's a lot of people in my life like that. There's a lot of people in everybody who's listening's lives that are like that. So these are lessons that we want to learn. And if you don't have that, seek that out. So how do we get more successful? It's a very difficult question to answer, but I think it really starts with being better. We've talked about this before, but if we take a page out of the book from people who had been in the stock industry as stockbrokers, you look back before all the online trading platforms had come out, and there were a lot of stockbrokers. And once online trading came out, those herds were thinned dramatically. Now, they're still stockbrokers, and they happen to be probably doing so much better financially. Why is that? What was the difference? Well, a couple of things is they considered it a career instead of a job, but they also really tried to get better. Not just better if you're a mortgage professional, by the way. The reason I'm talking to you about this is because, or a real estate agent for that matter, the online and technology tools that are out there are really designed to eliminate your position. I mean, just think about it. Think about Rocket Mortgage. Think about now Amazon getting into the mortgage business. Think about all the ways that you could buy real estate. Okay, so how can we not become extinct like so many stockbrokers? And it's not just knowing how to qualify somebody or how to show somebody a home. It's really being able to embrace technology and utilize technology in a way that makes you irreplaceable. What a computer can't really understand if that customer, although something makes the most financial sense, feels discomfort with that. So there's a few things I would do here. Like in any process, I would always ask two questions that are really important. I would always say, what are your thoughts? And then hold my tongue from telling them what their thoughts should be. And the other thing would be, what are your concerns? And people say, well, why do you want to open that bag of worms? Because look, you have to. People gain trust with you not because you try and sell them or because you try and tell them good stuff. They really start to trust you when you tell them the stuff that they should watch out for. In other words, what does a customer want from a salesperson? They don't want that salesperson to sell them. They want that salesperson to advise them. So it starts with as if this person were your child, your parent, your brother, your sister, a friend, who you want to, with your knowledge, point out the things that because they don't have as much experience, what could go wrong and what they should watch out for. When you metaphorically turn the chair from being on the opposite end of the table to the same side of the table, the whole relationship changes. And then if you combine that with not just expertise in how to qualify somebody or how to put a contract together, I mean, goodness, that could easily be replicated. But change that to where you can truly give insights that show them the financial opportunity. I mean, people in the mortgage business say, hey, I'm in the mortgage business, but the business you're really in is the money business, because your product, nobody wants a mortgage. What they really want is money. Yep. And money is so multifaceted that what you really need to do is understand all the different opportunities that exist. Guys, one more thing here. I'm sorry, but one more thing. You think about how someone buys a home. And it starts off with a visual process. They're going to start off online, but it's visual. So they start with their eyes. And then what happens is that they wind up seeing the home and getting emotionally attached to it. So it becomes a matter of the heart. But the ultimate decision to buy the home is done with their wallet or pocketbook. It's a financial decision. And when you think about how does a realtor sell a home, well, they'll say, hey, look at the great hardwood floors, the granite countertops, the quality and proximity to schools. That's their spiel. That's their pitch. That's how they sell. Okay. How does a mortgage person sell? I'll get you approved on time. I'll get you closed on time. I'll get you great service. I'll fight for the lowest rate. That's their spiel. That's their sales pitch. Okay. But those things, while they could be important, have nothing to do with how somebody buys a home. You have to articulate the financial opportunity. What does this home mean financially to them? How does it benefit them financially? What does the depreciation look like? What does the amortization do for their savings? How can you look at this comparatively and correctly from a cash flow basis? You do that, it's going to be really hard to be replaced by Amazon or Rocket Mortgage or anybody else for that matter. And you do that, and your clients will really gravitate towards you and refer everybody they can to you.
Now, Barry, so that's very interesting because one of the problems I've seen, like just in sales, right? So like breaking what you just said down to a more granular level, right? To say, okay, is the problem you see in most sales organizations, because we've had this problem too, and I think all sales teams go through this, is getting as specific on your value prop, right? Figuring out, okay, not only are we a mortgage company or an appraisal management company or a title company, but here's why we're the best. And when you're an investor, not only do you get this investor cash flow forecast, or if you're a realtor, not only do you get, the best follow-up and process service, but you're really packaging something of value to them. And I think, there's a lot of websites you can go online and get that kind of information. And I think you do it with your MBS Highway. I mean, I get a lot of your, it's interesting because I get a lot of emails from people who use your service. And you can see they're really trying to provide some value. On the appraisal management side, I think we just recently packaged our value prop, but it's difficult to package your value prop. Like when you look at all the good mortgage companies, let's say like a Movement, right? Toby, and I know you guys work with them. Toby's a good friend of mine. They've got a really good, strong value prop where they draw it right in the sand. They draw it right in the line, and that's a company culture too. And then with you guys, what do you think a person or a loan officer can do? So let's say I'm on the street and I don't have a value prop like that. How do you start putting that together?
So you reduce points of friction. I've been blessed to be in, and you were kind enough to talk about different businesses, and jumping in those different businesses and really kind of being a novice, felt my strength was to reduce points of friction. So when I got involved, I was always interested in medicine. I'd always been fascinated with it, but far from an expertise, okay? I'm no doctor, I'm no radiologist. But when we opened up medical imaging centers that did very high-end stuff, PET CT, positron emissions tomography, and the early detection of cancer, we did cardioangiography, we did your typical MRI stuff, So as we were doing these things, and of course I'm learning a lot, how could I add value on the business side? Well, what I tried to do is reduce the point of friction. I hope for goodness sake, no one has to ever go to a physician or get scans. But if you've had in the past, the drill. What happens is that the person doing those scans probably knows what's going on, but they can't talk to you. Only your doctor can, and it may take several days for that. Meanwhile, your mind kind of plays games with you, causes a lot of anxiety. So thinking, why should that happen? We decided in our centers to have a radiologist right there. So by the time you got dressed, they read those scans to you, and look, if it was great news, then you felt like $1 million. If it wasn't great news, at least you knew what it was and you had a plan of action to move forward. So we took out the anxiety part of it, and that made those centers very, very profitable, very popular. We wound up starting with one. We had 3 centers, and then we sold them. Now, same thing on Broadway. Look, I sing in a band, I love music, but I'm no Broadway specialist. Okay, this was my first foray. The Rock of Ages became the 27th longest running show in the history of Broadway. But what we tried to do was remove points of friction. One of the things that I did that was a lot of fun was we were the first show in the history of Broadway to allow drinking alcoholic beverages in your seats. And I would just observe.
I like that. That's actually a good idea.
Especially your Rock of Ages. Come on, of course.
Yeah, you go to a rock show, you get your girl, you buy a drink, and you got to throw it away right before the thing. I mean, everyone's been there. Yeah.
You go. And that's exactly what I was looking at. As I would watch and observe these people, they'd flash the lights, and then you'd go ding dong, 2 minutes to the show, and they'd have to guzzle this $15 drink.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I said, why do they have to do that? It took an awful lot to get the unions to agree, to get the theater to agree, and I had to spend a lot of money to it. Had to beef up security, things of that nature. but it worked, and now every show on Broadway does it. So I'm very, very proud to have pioneered that. And it's those types of observations that we can all make and say, where's the friction? What's making my customer unhappy? What can I do to set myself apart from the competition? And maybe it's not something that's a process. So many people look at process. How do I improve the process? And that's good. But what if it's just enjoyment? Or what if it's anxiety that I can take away? Okay, so in neither of those situations I brought up was it process.
Yeah.
So you don't have to necessarily build a mousetrap. But what can I do to add value to my customer in my unique selling proposition? Can I articulate the financial opportunity better? Well, yeah, you can. Can I show them this home in a way that they never understood? They're looking at a home as wooden beams and sheetrock, where what it really is a way for you to create more wealth than you ever imagined. And if you could just do the math correctly and show them that, they'll feel a lot better about paying full or over asking price. They'll feel a lot better if, because of tight inventory, that home doesn't have everything on their wish list that they wanted. And they'll feel a lot better about doing that transaction with you, and then you become an incredible resource to your real estate agent. So these are the types of things I'd look at.
So if you're mortgage guy, it's your January 4th, you're an appraisal guy, or you're a title rep. I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, I think everyone, you look on social media, everyone wants to have their best year ever. Everyone wants to achieve their goals. Everyone wants to, go out there and crush it.
Everyone goes to the gym on January 2nd.
Yeah, everyone goes to the gym. January 2nd, right?
On January 2nd. Nobody drinks alcohol or smokes a cigarette on January 2nd.
Eat a little less.
Yeah, exactly. I always tell people when I go to the gym, I count. So I'm like I'm 2 for 2 now, or 3 for 3. So I'm 4 for 4. I've gone 4 days in a row.
Right.
I'm excited about that, by the way. Well, what would you recommend? If I'm going to do one thing, what's an exercise, or what's something you do? Like, I know, for instance, I will always sit down and ask myself questions, right? Like, what is with me that's holding me back? What can I do better? What are 5 things I can immediately do to improve the company? I mean, is there any process or thing you go through like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that we all have to begin the day with a plan. I mean, the only look in sports, the only way you score is when you have the ball, when you're on offense. And I find that too many salespeople are always playing defense, reactionary. Okay, so if you really want to score, you got to be on offense, which means you have to start your day with a plan. Then you have to go through your day, and it's so few people work from a list. And if you notice, most successful people, as bright as they are, and they could have a photographic memory, they can recall things, but they're all working from a list. Isn't it incredible? So work from a list. Whether it's a yellow pad, what are your objectives for today? And the objectives should be both short-term and things that continue long-term. Because when you start to put that as something that you need to do, and you need to kind of achieve, you'd be surprised how the focus just becomes so much more intense, and you actually achieve those things. And part of that has to be, how do I get better? How do I get better at understanding the money business? So talking about knowing what you know, there's 3 steps here, and I think this is very interesting. So successful people know what they know, meaning that they're very good at what they do. They know how to put the deal together. They're an expert in their field. They know what they know, and they practice it, and they do well. But if you want to go a step above that to really start to approach excellence, start to try and strive to know what you don't know. So see the things that are out there that you say, I wish I had a better expertise. Is it a better expertise in the real estate market here? Is it a better expertise in the mortgage aspects of it if I'm in the title business? How do I become a better resource? Am I a good matchmaker for people? Okay, can I put people together and become a resource that way? So know what you don't know and work hard to become better at it, so then it becomes knowing what you don't know becomes knowing what you know, because then you know it.
Now, one of those things is, I think, with knowing what you do know, knowing what you don't know, is developing skills, right? Like in the sense of, marketing skills, leadership skills. Like we're using, OBS Studio, which is like a free software to broadcast this. Well, I mean, at some level, that's a skill set, right? Like to be able to live stream YouTube and cross filter through Skype. And my whole weekend was and we're fancy here, Barry. We got your points on. If you go to live YouTube, there are actually live points. So it's your face
I just have to get a word in.
What you're doing is
I've been writing down. If you're watching, I'm writing down most of everything that Barry's saying. I'm putting these points down for myself as a good summary because all of these things I think lead into a larger point. Barry sort of mentioned sports, and I know that we talk a lot about. We relate a lot of what we do in business to sports, partially because of your background being an athlete, okay, but also because there really is a huge amount of value in coaching, and people see that in a sports aspect, and where we translate that to business is in the value of mentorship. And I think what I'm sitting back here and seeing, and again, I've been kind of quiet for most of this because, hey, I'm just more interested to hear what you guys have to say, quite frankly. I can hear myself talk, and I'm not going to say anything really interesting. But I'm interested to learn and hear, and I think this is why people are tuned in as well, what Barry's got to say. And it's fascinating for me to sit here and hear the interactions between you guys, because what I'm seeing is a real live mentorship happening. And that's fantastic, and I don't think the value of that can be undersold. We're
getting into the details here. We're getting into the details.
We're going to talk about sports. You've got to have the right coach. What do they talk about all the time? Like any sport, if we talk about sports, the height of performance in sports, you look at the Patriots, and it always comes back to the relationship between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. That's a coach-player relationship, but in reality, from a business sense, that's a mentor-mentee relationship. Okay, and that's why that works so well. That's why that's so special.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why people identify with it, even if they don't understand sports, even if they don't like football or what have you. It's because that type of relationship in life to be successful is extremely important. And so I just had to throw this in. I'm watching this interaction between you guys, and I love it because that's what I'm seeing real time.
That's why we have Barry on the show.
Great example to see.
Let me just, there's so many good things you said. Let me try and remember all the points that I wanted to piggyback and underscore some of the great things that you said. So first of all, what you guys are doing, even with the technology, is you are taking the approach of saying, I know what I don't know. Let me get better at it, learn it, so it becomes knowing what I know. Now, there's another aspect to this I want to talk about in just a moment. But when you talk about sports, it's a really good analogy because, look, sports is sometimes it's not fair because you have to be kind of gifted from God with ability. But in sales, it's much more fair because you don't have to be super strong. You don't have to be super fast. You don't have to have great size in order to be a great salesperson. Sales is a mental game. And a lot of the mental part of it is just simply having the drive and desire to get better and do those things. Now, you mentioned Bill Belichick, and I want to tell you a quick story. So Super Bowl last year. So I have a band. We played the party before the Super Bowl, which is pretty awesome. Wheels Up puts on this party. We're doing it again this year in Minneapolis. We'll be at the party before the Super Bowl. Rock of Ages band, which I sing in, but we have a great band, and we'll be playing that gig. We got to meet a lot of these people. So the CEO of Wheels Up, Kenny Dichter, one of the greatest, smartest guys out there. You talk about a phenomenal marketer, right? Kenny knows Bill Belichick well. He says, hey, Barry says, want to have breakfast with Bill Belichick day before the Super Bowl? I'm like, are you kidding me? So me, Kenny, and Bill Belichick have breakfast. And it was incredible that what he said to me that was really, really important that we all understand is, and this will always stay with me, he says, we all have adversity. We all get dealt a lousy hand. We all get dealt bad things. He says, the real winners take that and say, okay, that's what I'm dealt with. Now, how am I going to overcome this? How am I going to get past this? And then the very next day, what does the guy do? He's down, the largest deficit ever in a Super Bowl, and he overcomes it and wins the game. So, by the way, I didn't really care for him just from his TV persona, but man, what a great guy when you get to know him. He's nothing like he is on TV. So let me tell you the final point that I wanted to make. So we talked about knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know. Here's the real secret sauce. You don't know what you don't know. And that's what can hurt you. That's what hurts your business. There's things out there that you don't know that can blindside you. Those are the things that can really upset you on how you lose transactions and things of that nature. So how do you get from turning that into something that you can identify? Here's where, and Brian, I think you said this, you really have to kind of observe and think about it. What are the things out there that you can internally identify, turn them into things that are now, okay, it's still something I don't know, but at least now I know that I don't know it. I can work on it and turn it into something that I do know. And another great thing about sports is you think about, look, I've been a professional speaker for a long time. I never go up there and wing it on stage. And as many years and as many presentations that I do, there's practice, 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 so that I can do a really good job. And a professional boxer trains 1,000 minutes for every minute they're in the ring. What I want to ask the salesperson who's out there is, how much are you training for when you're in the arena? When you're on the phone, did you just pick up the phone and just wing it? Or have you trained yourself? Have you recorded phone conversations, done the painstaking job of listening to you screw up, and then seeing where you did well? Strive to do more of that and make corrections where you could have, because you can't make those on the fly. It's only in listening to it later that you can understand where you went wrong. Have you done that work? Do you have a culture in your office that's a financial culture? Because look, we're in a financial business. We're in a money business. Do you talk about the different financial reports? Do you talk about how it affects real estate in your marketplace? Do you talk about where the opportunities are? Do you talk about what the difference in different products could be that can make them more attractive to a customer? Is that your culture, or is your culture something else in the office? Because if your culture is truly a financial culture, that's practicing all the time in a safe environment. So I talk to my colleagues about it, and we're able to discuss it openly. The next time I get on the phone with that customer, I'm already rehearsed 6 times. So I'm going to nail it. Customers make decisions to buy just like you and I do, is they make the decision very quickly. And then later on, we justify why we bought it. Why we bought that pair of shoes, why we bought that clothing, why we bought that car. We get hot for it, and we buy it. And then later on, we figure out why we need it or why it was the right decision to buy it. People make the same decision when they're choosing you for title, whether they're choosing you for their appraisal, whether they're choosing you for their mortgage, whether they're choosing you to do the real estate with them. It's very quick. They've already decided if they want to work with you. And if they do, they'll be very forgiving. If they're not into that mode, then you're not going to have an easy time getting them. So
yeah, and when you talk about culture, right? When you talk about culture, right? So, you've been, and let's just use Jim Rohn, right? So some seeds, some seeds you throw will fall on thorny ground. That's the Bible, but Jim uses that quote a lot, right? So we're going to give that quote to the right person, but he uses that. And also, don't leave the field to chase the pigeons, right? In the sense of working with people. So I think one of the problems is at the executive level or at the manager level, generally speaking, people are pretty motivated, right? Like if you're a branch manager and you got your own branch, or if you own a company, or if you're the national sales director for an organization. Generally speaking, you're probably setting your goals. You're probably starting a day with a plan. You're working a list. You've got some short-term and long-term goals. But then it tends to fall off from that perspective, meaning like, the loan officers, processors, individual employees, the motivation. How have you been able to, or what are the best ways, and you could disagree with my point. You can say, everyone you've ever hired has been, setting your goals in the morning and getting in the office early.
They're not. They're not. And I wouldn't kind of blanket it though. I wouldn't say because you're at a higher level, you're not prone to get out of that mode and start to play defense all the time. Because sometimes at those higher levels, you're so overwhelmed with what you're doing, you are just trying to play catch up all day and really not trying to either excel or get better or to understand exactly what's going on. I'm not saying it's easy to do, What we oftentimes see is a lot of people that are getting through the day instead of getting from the day. And what I mean by that is they're just trying to get to the end of the day and just trying to do the bare minimum to get through it. And that could be at any level, rather than saying, what can I take from this and learn? What can I achieve today that made me better? It starts with opening your day that way. And it starts with opening your day with first of all, with a sense of gratitude.
I like that. I like that.
I think that's the real key. How much of a pleasure is it for you to work with someone, whatever it is, when you can instantly sense that they are a grateful person instead of someone who expects things to happen for them or feels they're entitled? It's one of the most important ways to be magnetic to people.
Now,
don't have it show. Have a sense of gratitude because you feel grateful for what you. It could always be better, but man, it could always be a lot worse.
So let me ask you this, and I agree with that 100%. Let me ask you this: what does your day normally look like? So if I'm going to do a day in the life of Barry Habib, what time do you get up? What time do you get up? Do you work out? I mean, do you set your goals right away? How many calls are you making?
Yeah, okay, so I'll try and run it through quick. So it's an early start for me anyway. It's about 6 a.m. Not a super early start, but about 6 a.m. and I'm a little slow in the morning. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll pop on just what's going on in the market. So CNBC is on the background so I can see what's going on. I'm an animal lover. I've got 3 dogs, 3 cats, so I've got to take care of them and feed them.
Oh, nice.
And then I'll enjoy a cup of coffee and do some readings. So I'll spend about a good hour reading just what's going on. So these are not books. These are typically from subscriptions that I have or people that are colleagues that I really respect that put out pieces on the market. So I could start to formulate what's going on, put my own spin. I just don't take what anybody says and say, okay, that's what it is. But now I'm getting different opinions. I'm getting different reports. I am learning from some of the best so that it can help me formulate my ideas. I'll do a half an hour on the bike upstairs. If it's nice, I'd rather be outside, but here it's cold now, so I'll do half an hour on the bike. I'll get myself cleaned up and then come down and start talking with my office about how we're going to do the daily update. What are we going to put out there? Taking everything that's out there and put it out there in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes that's going to be impactful for our subscribers to understand. So we'll record that, get that out, and then once that's done, then I'll head into the office. You're talking about, depending on what time news comes out. If news comes out at 8:30, so I'll be there like 9:15 at the office, and everybody's there already at 8:30 or so. So start the day in the office with what we have to take care of. Now, a lot of times I'm speaking and I'm traveling, so this kind of routine has to be done on the road and record on the road and things of that nature, which always provides a little bit of a challenge. And then I'd be kind of on stage speaking. But when I'm here, that's kind of what it looks like. I've got a trainer. She comes to the house. I got a really nice gym at the house. And her and I, we train almost every day when I'm home. When I'm traveling, I should, but it's just very, very difficult to be training when I'm not at home. But I'll train pretty much every day for an hour when I'm home. So we'll do 2 different body parts, stomach, things like that. And then at night, just kind of relax, easy, unwind. It's sometimes hard to shut your brain off, but I'll kind of try and do something that's not too high thought process. But at the office during the day, always start the day before I enter. I know because we set up the night before what the plan for the day is, and then you adjust throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, you get your plan for tomorrow. Before I leave the office, we've got a plan. And the other thing too, team, pick up your phone, return your calls. That's the best way to do it. Is just multitask, get it done because stuff builds up. Just knock it out.
What's interesting is, like, to your point, so winning the day. I think a lot of people have, or at least, from my perspective, the struggle of, okay, I got 300 emails. I think next week I'll be in LA. I got 30 meetings, 4 happy hours, 4 breakfasts in 4 days. We're doing a city a day, right? So we're doing LA, Phoenix. We're doing all this other stuff. And then at the same time have to, be positive, set goals, do all this other stuff. How do you manage it all when you're traveling? Because I'm sure that's a lot of that's a lot of issues for salespeople too. Like, I mean, you get the guys going from conference to conference. You know, they're trying to be accountable. And when you're in the office every day, it's easy to check your email and check your spreadsheet and check off the list. But when you're
people think when they're traveling that they're on vacation. I'm off. You're not off. I mean, for goodness sake, you're gonna have Wi-Fi on the plane. You can work very efficiently on the plane. I mean, your cell phone works. While you're in the car, knock out calls. If you have an assistant, use your assistant correctly. So I've got a great assistant, Nicole Stallone. You've talked to her. She's phenomenal.
You have a good assistant. You do have a good assistant. Yeah, you do have a great assistant.
Keeps me on pace. So we've got our list of calls. She knows what they are, and she's teeing them up for me. Now, when I'm out of the office, she'll set me up on conference calls with everybody. Why? If my cell phone drops off, she's there. But if I'm not able to take notes, she can. If there's follow-up, they know who she is, so she can take care of that follow-up. And when I was in the mortgage business, it was the same way. If you're a mortgage professional and you've got an assistant, use conference calls with your assistant. So if you're out, they can take care of everything, and the next call comes from them. You don't need to be on that. What you want to try and do is work as efficiently as possible. I am reading all the time. I'm checking emails all the time. You know, look, does it create a little more stress? Yes, it does. But guess what? If you want to have a very high level of excellence, if you want to have the things that you desire, if you don't want to have to answer to other people, I mean, you just got to work really hard, and you have to work really smart, and you have to be very innovative. So if you want to excel, if you want to do things very special, look, I look at it this way. As far as I know, I've only got one life, one shot. Right? So I want it to be as special as it can be. And in order for me to have some of those special things, I've got to really work hard in order to have that other side of things. And quite honestly, I enjoy doing it too. I mean, I kind of like that crazy, fast pace a little bit, not all the time, but I enjoy it. I really do. I love the ability to create new things and to be creative. So in order to do that, you have to kind of do those other things and keep them in check, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Well, no. So what I was going to say, and I'm just going to. So we've got about 10 minutes left in the show, and I'll tell you. So the part for me.
I get a lot of good stuff from this.
Well, I've got a ton of good stuff, but again, I've got a lot of this. I've written this all down. You've been putting it in the notes, okay? So, but what I'm taking away from this, at least from the most recent.
Sorry, we're getting an audio.
Yeah,
feedback.
I'm getting an audio feedback. All right, anyway.
We're good.
So the thing that I took away from this, and I think this is just a great life lesson for anybody, whether you're in sales, whatever you're doing. And Barry, I think this is a quote that I'm going to attribute to you, is, I just love this. Don't get through the day, get something from it. Because there are so many times, and I'm guilty of this, we're all guilty of this. Today's a great example, okay? I get up this morning, there's 6 inches of snow on the ground, it's 3 degrees, I'm 40 miles, I live 40 miles away from the office, I normally am at home on Thursdays to work remote, all these things, right? And I'm saying to myself, now, I think a lot of folks, and I'm not trying to put myself in any specific category here, but I think a lot of people, including myself in certain scenarios, might look at that and say, man, I'm just going to have to get through this day, right? Just going to have to power through, right? And that's fine, and that's very acceptable. People will say that, and no one's going to give you a hard time for saying that. However, you want to get to that level of success. Okay, you want to get to the next level. You really want to make it happen. Again, you're not going to get through that day. You're going to get something out of that day. And those days that start off like that, where somebody else might just get through it, if you're able to get something out of it, I think you're even farther ahead. So, to be quite fair, Barry, just totally transparent, you're the reason I'm in this office today. If you and I weren't doing this podcast and I weren't talking to you or looking forward to having this conversation with you today on this podcast, it's very likely that I would have said, Brian, there's 6 inches of snow. It's 5 degrees. Yada, yada, yada. And I would have gotten through the day. I wouldn't have gotten anything out of it.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
So that's what I'm taking away. And again, I think that applies.
And some of it is just
board,
like planning your schedule for success.
Well, again,
right?
whether you're, because that's the kind of thing that's going to keep you motivated to stay on track as well, okay? Because when you look back, man, that day was a rough one. I really achieved that day, or I have something I can hang my hat on to feel like I achieved something that day. Well, shoot, man, if I can do that on this day where it's every challenge is against me, right, and I'm swimming completely against the tide, when I have one of those easy days where everything just seems to kind of go my way, well, now I know I can really dominate that day and I can really make progress. So, Barry, thank you. I appreciate it. That's a great quote. I'm going to attribute that to you. I collect quotes. This one I'm going to take away from you, and I think it applies across the board for anyone.
So Barry, it's funny because you know how quotes gets translated in time. So we'll have an office. Don't get through the day, get from the day. Barry Habib soon.
Get something. No, really, you can't.
Is that Earl or is that Earl Schoaf or is that Jim?
Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to bring that up here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought of that for sure. Yeah. But
well, to Fritz's point,
get your own.
To Fritz's point. So there's been times to where, like, you know, you get caught up, and I'm sure you get caught up with running the business, that you get so many, 700 unread emails, you got a million things going on, you just launched a program or a new website, or you're just dealing with day-to-day stuff, that you don't have as much time to focus on the output, right? Like the meetings, the happy hours, the social, the stuff that's really what I call slow thinking, you know, where you're face-to-face or ear-to-ear with somebody that, you know, if you had no problems. And so one of the things I've done sometimes is just literally like, all right, today I'm not doing emails. Like I'm going to focus on, I got 10 meetings lined up today. I got 10 conference calls. And, you know, at 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'll open up my emails and I'll open up, you know, the rest of my stuff. Or I'll look at a little bit. But I'm really going to focus on output. And I'm going to block my time off. And I have assistants and people that check my email and stuff like that. So it's not as, you know, completely blocked off. But, I mean, do you do stuff like that? I mean, do you really... Because there's something to be said. You got to, you know, Tom Brady isn't checking his phone when he's in the game, or Bill Belichick isn't checking his phone when he's at practice, right? Like he's really there.
Correct.
And
but you're going to take a break to grab a cup of coffee. You're going to take a break to run to the restroom. You're going to take, you know, there's going to be times, and I know it's frustrating, it's hard. You got to just try and catch up parts that you can, you know, kind of chip away at it. Is what I try and do. I try and chip away at it when I can and use those few minutes. You know, you'd be surprised how many emails you can cut through in 5 minutes. If you're good at it and you're quick at it, if you have an assistant you can delegate to, and of course it's difficult to get on a call, but you can definitely have some quick correspondences. You know, check your texts, check your emails, boom, boom, boom. Even if you don't get to all of them, the next break, which might happen a half an hour, 45 minutes later, boom, 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 you knock out some more. Yeah, you've got more that have come in, but you're never that far behind. I look at people's phones sometimes. You ever do this? You ever see somebody's phone and you see unopened emails, 1,021, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I don't know how they live. That bothers me so much. Oh my, I don't know how they even function in life. I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't even imagine.
I gotta look and see what's going on. You just don't know.
Here's the thing. No matter how much success you've achieved, never lose respect for another person. I mean, really, that's the one. Look, I grew up, guys, extremely poor.
Yeah.
I know what it is to be on the other side of things. So I think that I see a lot of people, they just think they're too good to return somebody else's phone call. They're too good to don't ever let yourself get to that level. You know, don't do that. You know, if somebody reaches out to you, they've got good intentions, maybe you don't have to get back to them in 2 minutes, but at least show the respect of responding. So that's
and to
really
your point, Barry,
thing.
you've always responded to me. Now, last question, because I know you're busy today, so we want to kind of end on time. Fritz, you have anything you want to?
Well, I have two things to that point, and it's something that I personally talk about. It hasn't come up a lot, but I really do appreciate Barry saying this, and it gives me even more reason to be a fan. The value of humility. You've heard me talk about that all the time. You know, there's a lot of value in humility, not in an inappropriate way, but having a bit of humility in life is a good thing, and I think that helps keep you grounded and it helps keep you motivated and focused because, as we all know, you can be the best, but there's always going to be somebody better than you. Pretty much, unless you're Jerry Rice, in which case that's it. You're the best.
Jerry was good.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Again, it circles back to gratitude. And the way I look at this is, it's not that, oh man, I got to do this. It's, wow, I get to do this.
I like that. Yeah,
I'm right. And I'll be right.
Our position, whatever we do, you're entitled, you're an appraiser, whatever you do, it always has stresses. I get it. Of course, not everything is great. Not every customer is great. It's hard. But, it would be a lot worse if you didn't have that job, right? It would be, things are a lot. So I don't got to do this. I get to do this. And if you come from that point of gratitude, if you think about things that way, I think we can inspire ourselves to be a better resource to our customers.
So last question, and is as an originator for 2018, and this has been great, Barry. By the way, we should definitely. There's so much here. I wish we could go on for hours. We didn't even touch the Rock of Ages or the movie.
I was just going to say, I have all these notes.
I have, yeah.
We didn't even get to it. That's a good sign. Yeah. That's a great sign.
Yeah. So, but what would you give advice for? I'm an originator and I'm working in a call center or I'm working on the street. I got interest rates now. You hear the news story that interest rates are going to rise as high as 4.5%, 5%. By the end of the year, you've got the bond market going crazy. You got home prices going crazy. There's a lack of inventory. It's the 4th of the month, and I want to have my best year ever in classic Jim Rohn. What do they got to do?
So, first thing is interest rates are going to go up, not because of the Fed, but really predominantly not because of the Fed hiking rates, but because central banks around the world are going to be draining liquidity. They started to do that in the fourth quarter. You saw interest rates spike up a little bit. You'll see a little bit more of that. Now, they're going to continue a little bit higher, not crazy. You'll still be in great shape. The housing market is going to continue to be wonderful. Thing of it is, though, is if you're refi dependent, really focus on the purchase side as much as you can. That means you've got to be that resource. So be smarter, be a better resource to your realtors, understand that you're in the money business. Start your day with a plan, start your day with gratitude, and really do not fear the hard work that comes with it. Just push yourself, because you can do so much more than you think you can.
Absolutely. And then with that said, I think we're going to live stream a thing of you
Wait,
Rock of Ages singing Abster Farm featuring Barry Habib.
Well, okay.
So not that. That's not what. That's old.
That's old. Okay, yeah, we're not going to do that one.
Yeah, no. Before you start playing clips like that, let him get approval on that.
And by the way, if anybody's going to be at the Super Bowl the day before, there's a party that we're playing the gig. It's like every celeb, every athlete's there. If you want to try and get in, let me know. We'll see. We might be able to get a few people into that. It's a lot of fun.
We will not play this, and I will take you up on that. So you'll be hearing from Fritz and I.
I was just gonna say,
hey guys, thanks for
everything
you guys do. You guys really do a great job. Thank you. You always really set a very, very high bar. You bring people together. Do a lot of good for several industries. So thank you for what you do.
Thanks, man. And then make sure you come to our Inside the Beltway social this year. I'll make sure you'll send him an invitation. Way ahead of time.
And I'll say, Barry, I haven't had the pleasure to meet you in person, but I really hope that I get the chance to do that sooner, more quickly than later, sooner rather than later. So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Barry. Thanks for being
aboard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Wow. So that I got to say, man, that was fantastic. I think that went even better than I would have hoped. I know we didn't get to discuss a lot of the stuff that. It's funny, a lot of the peripheral stuff that we had talked about. That we got to ask about these movies, and Mark Ruffalo directed a movie that he produced, and working with Tom Cruise, all these things. But the information that was relevant, that was more relevant to our industry and to sales and things like that, and really just the overall idea of how to achieve some level of success, that was so compelling and interesting that we could have talked about that, I feel like, for much longer. And we never got to, what I think we were both kind of on the back end going, man, we want to ask
we didn't get to.
So, but that's a great sign.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
Oh yeah,
he's definitely the real deal. He's definitely the real deal.
Absolutely.
And I was pleasantly surprised with just a level of depth and specificity. Because a lot of times people kind of like when they're talking about doing okay, well, Fritz, what does your day look like? He really had good answers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just he had great answers, and it's simple. I think a lot of the simplicity when approaching things.
Well, it goes back to the point that he made, which is talking about the value of preparation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can clearly see that
he's prepared.
He's so prepared,
Completely prepared.
top to bottom. Okay. And so again, it just speaks to that. So I want to just recap a few things that I have as big takeaways for me. And I kind of mentioned one of them. I mentioned the one which is, and again, I think this is great advice for anybody out there, which is don't get through the day, get something from it.
Good from yeah.
Yep. And then the other thing I would say is, and this is another great one too, and again, I think for any person, any industry, anything really, is don't feel I have to, or don't think I have to. Don't approach it as I have to, approach it as I get to. I had an opportunity.
It was good.
The responsibility is an opportunity, or the obligation is an opportunity. That's fantastic.
No, it was good. It was good.
So-
So next week.
And hey, if we get to go to the Super Bowl,
I know. Well, that's the fun part, right?
What?
So that's the fun part.
gotta be kidding me.
So we've had, we had a pretty good amount of people subscribe and
You know
watch
how to
us.
guarantee that you'll never go to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Change your name to Washington Redskins.
There you go.
You will never make the Super Bowl. You want to get the playoffs, man.
All right, with that said, we are signing off. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, everybody.